Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Asama Taka from Team T.L.P here with a third deck profile. This is my OTT deck. Now, I just want to point out something. This deck was built off of a trial deck. Even though all trial decks are supposed to be solid, this deck became even more solid after I made some modifications to it. So, let's begin the deck profile, shall we? Alright. Over here at the very top left of my mat, it's Circle Magus. Now we all know Magus is supposed to be inside a Magus build, when the build comes out and everything, because that's where that's where its ability is most effective. Next is the AK Vanilla Gemini. You all know what that is, Oracle Guardian Gemini, AK Vanilla. Yeah, that's a good card. The next one is Oracle Guardian Blue Eye. Skill, you have to have 6 or more in soul. And when this card boosts an Oracle thing take, you can take the top card. You could draw a card, take a card from your hand, put it on the bottom of the deck. Pretty much. The next is Sword Dancer Angel. Sword Dancer Angel is, it's one of its kind, and it only comes in a trial deck. You don't get it in any sets or any other thing like that. So, and its skill is, when you draw a card, it gets 1,000 extra power. So, a little thing to keep in mind is, with Sword Dancer, it could become a 20k card by itself, a 20k unit by itself, which is actually really good. Because all you have to do is, when you draw a card, it gets 1,000 power. Then you get a trigger, apply the power to it. Right then and there, it's 14. Then you get another trigger through a twin drive, it's 19, plus you draw another card that's 20. So Sword Dancer is a really effective grade 2. Next is Faithful Angel. Faithful Angel skill is just like Blue Eyes, except it's not a booster. It pretty much draw a card when there's 6 or more in soul, and then take a card from your hand and put it into the bottom of your deck. Then you have your Special Interceptors, your 10k Interceptors, grade 2. That's also a really good card too. Then you have your Red Eye skill. When a card gets a hit confirmed, you soul charge a card from the top of the deck. Next, you have Battle Sister Vanilla. Now I know you're probably gonna ask the reason why I have a Battle Sister in this deck, but sometimes when I play Vanguard, I just use cards for the sole reason of their effect, regardless of where the card comes from. I just like the effect because I know it'll help me in the long run when I'm making a build. Next, you have Luckbird. Luckbird skill, of course, on placement on rear guard, you Soul Blast 2 and you draw a card. Pretty effective. That card is more or less really good inside a Battle Sisters build when you're trying to run Soulless and whatnot. Let's see, you have Milk. Got Milk. Anyway, Weather Girl Milk. Her skill is she becomes a 10k booster when there's 4 more cards in your hand. So that's actually really good. So, say for instance you have Sakuya and Milk, and you have 4 cards in hand, you're swinging it for 24 every time, so that's really nice. Next, you have your Oracle Guardian Apollon. Apollon's skill on Vanguard, when you get a hit confirm, counter blast 2, draw a card and take a card from your hand and put it in the bottom of your deck. Put it in your deck and shuffle. The other card below it, there, is Meteor Break. Hold on, give me a second. It's a Meteor Break Wizard. Meteor Break Wizard skill is actually really effective, only because as a 10k vanilla, it gets 3,000 power when you counter blast 1. So when it attacks. Next we come to my triggers. My trigger lineup comes as followed. I have 4 draw triggers, that being a Dream Eater. The next is the Victory Maker, which is also a draw trigger. I have 4 of those. And then we come to another more of my grade 2s. Wiseman, 10k vanilla. You already know you have to have 10k vanillas inside your build. This is a must. Then you come to the bottom left. Over here, I have Amaterasu, CEO, the alternate art. Because I kind of found it necessary to get this card because I like the art. It looks pretty. Outside of one. Alright, that's 1. 2 is 2 normal copies of normal CEO. Because this technically more or less is the build run by Amaterasu. Then you have the Cross Ride, Goddess of the Sun. You already know you have to at least have 1 copy of her. Then you have Secretary Angel. Now, I know you're probably going to question the reason why I have this card in, since it's a grade 3 and it's a 9k vanilla. The only other card probably like this, I'm guessing, is the normal Gancelot, grade 3. I'm guessing, I don't want to get it wrong, but I want to say Gold Paladins. I don't know, sometimes I get them mixed up. Next you have 2 copies of Sakuya. I have the trial deck Sakuya, and I have the triple rare. I mean, the double rare Sakuya. You know, because that little rainbow shine when the light reflects off it, it kind of looks nice. Also, plus I needed a second Sakuya for more reasons. You know, more reasons than one. Then you come back to the remaining triggers in the deck. You have 3 Psychic Birds. Psychic Bird skill. When it's put into the soul from rear guard, you get to draw 1 card. And then you have a normal critical trigger. Only because I was sort of kind of limited on Psychic Bird, so I had to just toss on a random critical trigger, you know, to help me with the 4th crit. And then you have 4 heal triggers. The OTT heal triggers being you have the other Magus, the Magus heal trigger. Her skill, you know, when she's boosting a card, she becomes a 6K instead of a 3K. And at the end of a turn, she's put back in the deck and you shuffle. And she's also a Forerunner. So, and then finally, you come to my starters. The starter that I start the game off with right here is Uzume, Bamboo Princess Kaguya. And then you have Uzume over here. Uzume, what is that? Sailor Maiden Uzume skill, as some of you already know, is on rear guard, counterblast 1, it's an act. You retire 2 of your OTT units, and then you can search for Goddess of the Sun. That's pretty much the overall lineup of my deck. Alright, now, pardon me a second. I want to change this song real quick. I'm not feeling that. Where are you? Okay, I want to change back to the song I had before. Anyway, sorry. Now, let's get to the next part. Now I want to explain strategy. Now, you may have seen some of my games, maybe 1 or 2 of my games with this deck, and probably come to notice that the deck isn't all that bad. But I want to speak strategy for the reason why I decided to build the deck this way. Now, as I said before, this deck is overall built off of Amaterasu build, solely because I have 3 Amaterasus and a Goddess of the Sun. I would have a 4th Amaterasu, but sometimes, times are hard out here. And, the money struggle tends to be real, but we ain't gonna talk about that. Trying to buy cards online. I hate having to buy from people in general, but that's beside the point. So, this, I like to use Amaterasu skill for 1, for soul charging. 2, because she gets the 4,000 power like Sakuya, so she can become a 24k monster when she's being boosted by Milk. And also because of the cross ride. Not to mention that I can also use her Mega Blast. Mega Blast skill can be applied on Vanguard or Rear Guard. So, and it can also attack either Vanguard or Rear Guard. So it's definitely a plus on both ends. I like that. So this is the reason why I decided to build it primarily around Amaterasu. See, I know you're probably thinking the downside is, if I lose all of my Amaterasus in a game, then what else do I have to focus on in the deck when it comes to actually playing a match? Now, that more or less, that's a good question. If I lose everything else, I don't mind just working off of the basics. Running back off to the basics. Say, for instance, I have Meteor Break. I can run off of him if he's Vanguard. 13 plus Milk is 23. Or, I don't mind just running in for just 20 with Oracle Guardian Apollo. I don't mind him. I mean, I'm still drawing cards, aren't I? So it doesn't really make a difference. Either way, whether I lose Amaterasu or not, I still have something to fall back on. Because OTT's deck, OTT more or less is focused on recovering hand power. So it's a really balanced deck, but it more or less, to me, it doesn't seem very offensive. It's more defensive than offensive, but it can make up for its offense in some cases. So this is the reason why, if I run out of options, I have Sakuya left. Sakuya, we all know her skill on placement on Vanguard. Return all your rear guards back to your hand. That right there recovers hand power, and then it allows you to decide which cards you want to play and which you want to keep in your hand, so you can utilize Sakuya's second skill. 4 more cards in hand, it becomes a 14k. So that's the fallback. There's plenty of fallbacks to this deck. Then say for instance you want to come in for, I don't know. Say you don't have Milk with you. You got Gemini. Instead of whacking it for 24, you're whacking it for 22. It doesn't make a difference. You're still whacking for over 20, so it's still really good regardless. It's not a complete letdown. It's not like you're completely failing. Let's see. Magus helps me check the top card. Magus. My setup of 1 seems really strange. I can understand that. But I believe Magus could be a good starting Vanguard besides Gemini, only because Magus will help me check what card either I'm gonna lose or what card I'm gonna draw. And that technically helps me, whether I don't mind losing the card, or I actually mind losing and I have to block for the card. Block for the next card that I'm about to draw. Or damage check for. That's the reason why I find Magus to be helpful. Next, Gemini. It's overall, it's a good booster. That's the reason why I have it in deck. 4 copies is automatically, it's a necessity. Next, you have Blue Eye. Blue Eye, say for instance I have Sakuya on field. Say I have Amaterasu, yeah? And I have Blue Eye supporting it. Now, automatically, when you use Amaterasu skill, you soul charge and you check the top card. And whether you want the card or not, you could put it at the bottom. You could put it at the bottom or keep it at the top. Now, say for instance there's a card I really want. Now, I can either get it early, or I can, get it later. It's either way. Either I'll dry check it, or I'll just use Blue Eye skill, get it now, and then dry check a different card. Because when you look at it this way, it seems like you're kind of getting to your triggers faster. So say for instance with Amaterasu, when supported by Blue Eye, I use Blue Eye skill first. Blue Eye skill lets me draw a card and then put a card in my hand at the bottom of the deck. By doing that, whatever other cards is below the card I just drew from my deck could possibly be triggers. So I just got rid of a card that was already in the way, preventing the triggers from being drove check. That right there makes it easier. So right there I'm coming close to revealing my triggers in a drive check. Then you have Sword Dancer Angel. As I said before during the first half of my explanation, she becomes a 20k by herself if you draw 2 draw triggers. That's actually really effective. And then supported by Gemini, she's swinging in for 28. So that's actually a really hardcore number. Then you have Faithful Angel? Faithful Angel skill, it's pretty much the same as Secretary Angel. Secretary Angel skill as the same as Faithful's, is when there's 6 or more in the soul, you draw a card, and then you take the card in your hand and put it in the bottom of your deck. Any card of choice. Special Interceptors. Say for instance you don't feel like dropping any cards in your hand, you have a decent amount of hand power, make sure you play Special Interceptors. It prevents hand power loss. Special Intercept, and then just drop 1 card. Makes it easier. It's good for good defense. Then you have Red Eye. Red Eye is one of the big significant parts of this deck. Red Eye helps me activate Amaterasu's skill much faster. With every hit confirmed that I get, I soul charge 1. This speeds up the process for Amaterasu's Mega Blast for either Rear Guard or Vanguard. So if, say for instance, I have 2 of my Amaterasus on field, and maybe Sword Dancer swings in after getting 2 draw triggers, applying all effects of Sword Dancer. She swings in for 28, supported by Gemini. Right then and there, I just made my opponent drop a lot of cards if they didn't use a perfect guard, yeah? Then I use the Vanguard. No, I already used Vanguard. Then after Sword Dancer, then I use Amaterasu. It's a possibility they may not have any other cards left to block with. And if they don't, then just go after the Rear Guard. They're not gonna protect it if they really don't have any cards left to block with. They'll just take it and you'll just activate your Mega Blast and get more cards. So it just made your life so much easier. Either way, you're gonna get the Mega Blast off. That's the reason why it's useful. That's the reason why I keep Red Eye in the deck. Next, I have Battle Sister. What is that? Battle Sister Vanilla? Vanilla pretty much becomes a 10k when there's 6 or more in soul. So a 10k guarder. So that pretty much helps me, because Amaterasu helps me build up soul pretty easily along with Red Eye. So she automatically is going to become a 10k vanilla blocker as soon as I get her in my hand. Luckbird, good for hand power. On placement, just soul blast 2 with all the soul that I already have and just draw a card. Milk, good for boosting. I'm boosting Amaterasu with 4 more cards in my hand. I'm swinging in for 24. Let's see, Meteor Break. Meteor Break, automatically, you are boosted by Milk, swinging in for 23. Because of the counter blast of Meteor Break skill, it becomes a 13k, plus Milk becomes a 10k, 23. Or for maybe, I don't know. Well, it won't make a difference, it'll just be a little bit of less number. But you could use Gemini and swing in for like a little bit of a lower number. But you'll still be swinging for something decent. They'll still have to drop a 10 and a 5 possibly. Then you got Oracle Guardian Apollo. Doesn't make I pretty much just use him to gain hand power. That's all he's pretty much needed for. Then you got my Trigger Liner, which are draws, beneficial for Sword Dancer and the rest of the cards in my deck. Wiseman for 10k vanillas. Then you have Amaterasu for pretty much the base of the build. Secretary Angel used just like Faithful Angel. Sakuya to help me retrieve all my cards back, plus become a 14k. And my criticals for Psychic Bird skill to draw a card, and heal triggers to heal. And then finally you have Uzume. If there's rear guards on the field that I don't need, I'll just Counterblast 1, retire 2 cards that I don't need, and just search for Goddess of the Sun when Amaterasu is already on Vanguard, and then cross right over it. And then finally you have Uzume. Uzume will always be on the rear guard for most of the game until she finally needs to put into Soul to activate the Mega Blast when the time comes. That's pretty much how this deck has been built. This is Asama Taka here from Team T.L.P. I'll see you guys later.